Hello, welcome back to the first video in a long time. Things have been busy and I've been away. Sorry. But I'm back, and today I wanted to talk about the process of getting out of a creative rut. Um, and other things, travel, catching up, sort of a travel roundup episode as I get back into things. Since April, traveling sort of all over the East and West Coast. Since April, San Francisco, Denver, a couple local trips to Eastern North Carolina and up to Virginia, Seattle, and then 2 weeks ago we just did a bunch of New England travel to see friends and family. And all the while, I've been trying to, do my thing, take pictures using the 35 millimeter and 35 millimeter film, 28 millimeter lens, and a couple other things, because some of these were work trips, but I wanted to jump back in and share some work and just catch up on where we left off last time. I don't remember what that was now. Anyway, travel roundup. Yeah, so as spring sort of rolled into summer, things were busy at work, things were just, busy in life, so it was hard to just take time to make photos and go out and do that. But with all the travel I had, I just, said, I'm going to bring my camera with me as best I can and just photograph what I see. And hopefully that would break me out of just kind of feeling not really into making work. And luckily, I think it did. The film I shot over the past few trips I've really enjoyed. I really like some of the images. I want to, jump into that and share them. I guess we'll start with San Francisco. San Francisco was a work trip, so I only brought my digital Leica. I did bring the 28 millimeter lens on it, and because it was a work trip, I don't really have that much to share. Although we can look at this one shot from set. We had some lights set up to get an interview scene set up for this video. So this is my coworker doing some light testing, and I just snapped a quick BTS behind the scenes. So yeah, not much to share from that trip, but it was good to have my camera with me in between setting things up, running the interviews, doing the filming, just taking behind the scenes pictures, just to get into that mindset of documenting and thinking. And the only reason I didn't take my film on this trip was just I was traveling with coworkers. One of the flights was a red eye, so I didn't want to deal with hand checking the film, changing rolls, all that stuff, being on set, and being a slight hassle when I'm dealing with day job demands. But the next trip was also a work trip, and that was a trip out to Denver for a big tech conference that my company that I work for puts on. And that was after the San Francisco trip. I was like, you know what? This will be a little bit less of a time crunch trip, so I'm going to take my film camera and just get some behind the scenes shots of sort of the conference life that we're living at the time, and just weird things around the sort of liminal space of a big conference center where since I was working, had access to a little bit more of the weird uninhabited areas. So yeah, that's some travel in, some planes. This was in Denver, so we're taking the Uber from the airport to the convention center. Some planes lined up. This is my coworker. We shared a cab. This is the famed Big Blue Horse at the Denver airport. One of the many mysteries I unfortunately didn't have time to get into during my time in Denver. I love the Denver airport sort of mythology, but this was about the closest I got, unfortunately. And then some just behind the scenes shots from the convention. It's just people kind of wandering around the space. Some of the people that were working the convention, some chefs, and some of the wait staff. This lady that was giving out these hats to people that signed up, they had some app on their phone and they had to come do some check-in thing. Another sort of weird liminal space, this tree that was just off by itself in a corner. An after party photo, they had a mechanical bull that people were riding. Everybody was in a good mindset, we'll say that. So the rides didn't typically last very long. Some behind the scenes of people getting set up for the keynote that we put on. Just a huge crowd, some cool lights. This was a fun place to shoot, although I didn't really have time as I was kind of trying to get set up to get the video I needed to cover, the B-roll. And then here in North Carolina, there was a mass cicada hatch. One of the 13 or 17 year, or maybe both of them, the broods came out for a couple weeks. I know it was just cicada mania. They covered my house. Not covered, but they were way more on my house than our neighbor's house for some reason. So take a few cicada pictures, sort of document that weird couple weeks of bugs everywhere. Also in between trips, my buddy Chuck, who is a sign painter out of Greensboro, North Carolina, he was commissioned to paint a mural advertising a music fest called Good Moon in Durham, North Carolina. So I thought, hadn't been feeling super into photographing stuff, so I hit him up. It's like, hey, I just come hang out and photograph while you paint, just to do something. Sort of kickstarted an idea of photographing people with cool, sort of interesting jobs that are, they're making things, they're out in the world, and Chuck's job is sign painting. That's what he does. So I joined him for a couple days, documenting some of the detail of him setting up, painting the gesso or the undercoat for the mural. I think some of the details are really fun to get, like the rolling brush, Chuck sharpening. There's like grease pen. And I went back. So I did two days during the day, and then one day I went back to photograph him and help him out at night because time is short. Was short for this project, so he just had to get it done as quickly as he can. So he set up this projector system on top of his Honda Element to project his design onto the wall and get up there and like sketch out where all the lettering went. Just because he didn't have time to do it all during the day, and it was also really hot, so it was tough to get out there and paint all day in the sun for him. It's also been really hot here in North Carolina the past 3 weeks. It was 100 degrees yesterday, so it's just not super conducive to wanting to get out and photograph during the day. So one of my solutions to that is, aside from all this traveling, I've been traveling to the Shadow Realm in Elden Ring. That's been taking up a lot of time and has been very fun. What else have we done? Another thing, there's a town about an hour from me called Wilson, North Carolina, which seems like it would be just a post-industrial sort of, town time forgot, and it is in a way, but it also is the home for the International Center for Photography. No, that's not it. I'll dub in what it's actually called here. But they host this big photography festival every year called Eyes on Main, wherein they put up like over 100 images on walls around the town, and then the guy that runs it, or is the curator, this French guy that lives in town, leads, it's not a photo walk per se, but it's a walk around the town to look at the photos, and tons of photographers show up. There must have been 100 people at this, which is pretty crazy because that probably like significantly increases the population of the town for the day. So yeah, we walked around. This mirror person, some artist in town, kind of wandered into the crowd, and everybody was oohing and eyeing, taking pictures. Some of the photographers speaking, some of the crowd that was there. As you can see, a lot of photographers. And then this is the curator. He was very bombastic speaker, so he was very fun to photograph. And actually, I'm going to make another video later about street photography and gesture in street photography and how that's sort of a hack to better pictures. So look for that soon. I'm going to say that to hold myself accountable to make it. We'll see. And then this guy, Brad, who I went over across this field and photographed this cool car, and he came over and was like, whoa, 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 let me get in there. So I chatted him up for, I don't know, a good half an hour. We talked about the car, what his life is like in Wilson. Super nice guy. I was a little bit worried he was going to try to shoo me off, but he just wanted to chat and get in the shot and tell me about the car that his brother had given him. It didn't really run, but he, showed me all around it. It was very cool. He was a super nice guy. Anyway, I went to Seattle mid-June. I was flown out there to do some work for some friends' band. Went and photographed the final 2 botch shows for them. I can't show any of that yet, but look for something coming out of that project, hopefully down the road. Really happy with the shots I got. So the most I can share is here's me in the green room, hanging out, doing behind the scenes stuff. On the second day of the show, I didn't need to be at the venue until like late in the afternoon, so I had some time to just wander around Pike's Place Market, and I was, had my Leica, and it's like, you know what? Let's do some street photography, which, this qualifies. I basically just wandered around Pike's Place and photographed what I could. Here's one of the fishmonger guys at that one corner where everybody stands to get the photo of the fish being thrown. A little bit of humor in street photography. The bird scooters with these birds on them. I got pretty close to these guys and they did not care. Total city pigeon style. But I thought it was just, one of those things that you got to take a picture of this. In wandering around, I met several other street photographers, Leica shooters. In this scene, a bride was getting her, post-wedding photography done. So I was kind of sliding around the edges and just threw the camera up right as the wind was catching the veil in this other woman's hair. And another photographer was there. He was like off to the side doing the same thing. And just people working. This lady was cutting flowers just on the street corner, the big knife on the ground. So this is one of those on the fly, like zone focus, F16, 1/250th, just like bam, keep it moving. This scene at the top or at the bottom of these stairs going over to the gum wall, just a lot of people all framed up in, sort of their own little worlds, I thought was pretty cool and really good light that day. And this was, at Seattle, so had some really good light for a couple hours and then it started raining. But by that time I was already back in the venue, so it's fine. Some flower vendors in Pike's Place, these women surrounded by these flower cuttings. That was very cool and really good light coming in from those windows. And then another one of those like street photography moments where you see something happening and you react and you don't know if you get it or not, but I got this photo of a guy like throwing his kid into the air. And I really love the way that she lines up so perfectly with the lights in the background. Sort of this 1 in a million, like I just happened to be there. I just happened to get it at the release point, lines up with the background. And that's part of the fun of street photography, and part of that video I want to make about gesture is like you just happen into a moment, you capture it, and then that's it. You keep it moving. And then the last little bit of travel was up to New England. This was more of a family trip, so I don't have a ton of like photos I'm going to share, but it's a beautiful place in New Hampshire that we stayed, did a little bit of hiking, stopped in Portland, Maine for a couple days. There was this cool convex mirror in one of the Airbnb bedrooms that I had to get this, get a self-portrait in because it's such a weird, like Beastie Boys style fisheye look. And then a couple more from New Hampshire, just like, you know, hanging around, playing with an e-bike, and then getting ready to do some night kayaking and canoeing. And this was like right as the sun was under the horizon. It was a really nice, beautiful, like low light. So there's a little bit of motion blur, but I think that really adds to the vibe of this image. And that's pretty much it. The past few months have been both a little bit slow in photography up until the past few weeks, which has been jam-packed with the Seattle trip in New England. So yeah, that's it. Just wanted to take a moment to catch up on travel, like a travel roundup, and the idea of breaking out of a creative rut by just like kind of doing the work. You know, whether it was good or not wasn't a concern at the time. I was just like, I wanted to be photographing and making space to do it, because I think the best way to break out of a creative rut is a combination of just like, you know what, time away from the thing. I can put photography down for a couple weeks and just focus on, you know, playing Elden Ring, or it's like doing stuff around the house. As you can see, we finally redid my office. That took up a lot of like brain space and time as well. But in terms of getting out of a rut, you just like put things down, let it rest, take a break, and then at the same time, when you're able to, like kind of buckle down and like do the work, even when you don't feel like you're gonna get anything good. It's like just an exercise of having the camera, making yourself see photographically, and sometimes you get a whole roll of stuff that's just like, I just wasn't feeling it, but you did the work, you got the shots. Whether you like them now or not, you can always go back and look at them later and be like, oh, actually, I might not have been in the right headspace, but because of having practice, having like a good photographic practice, you can go back and see like, oh, actually was kind of let the muscle memory take over and make work and get photographs that are better than you think, and deserve a revisit down the road. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Over the past few months, I'm going to try to be better about making some more videos. Like I said, the street photography and gesture one, I want to do soon. I'm, again, more travel coming up. I'm going back to Boston for a couple shows in a few weeks. And then we have a trip up to Virginia towards the beginning of August. And I'm just going to be, you know, have that Leica around my shoulder and see what I get. And I will report back then. Yeah, thanks for joining me. Sorry it's been a while. That's just how things go. This is Aesthetic Control. I'm Reid. Follow along wherever you can find me. All that fun stuff. Okay, goodbye.